All right, so in a public statement that quickly gained traction online, Tobi Amusa accused the Federation of, that's the Athletic Federation of Nigeria, of consistently neglecting and mistreating its athletes, even those who have brought global recognition to the country. Amusa expressed frustration over a range of issues, including lack of communication, delayed payments, inadequate support during international competition, and a general sense of being undervalued despite her achievements. Her remark paints a picture of a system that prioritizes politics over performance and bureaucracy over athletics welfare. So, I mean, I have so many guests joining me, so I'm going to start with Hassan Abdusalam. I believe he's Pulse Sports. He's with Pulse Sports, and I have Jidechi Chideze. I hope I didn't murder the name. He's also a sport journalist, and I also have Mighty George. Okay, today, not today. You people just planned me. But thank you so much. I believe Hassan is live. Hassan, are you there?
Yeah, good evening. I'm here. Good evening. Trust you had a good day.
Okay. All right. So let me start with you quickly. First of all, what is going on? Because as I am like this, I don't know anything sport. I just like Tobi Amusa and I follow her and I saw a video. But what exactly is going on with the Athletics Federation of Nigeria? Let's start with that.
Okay, I'll just take you to history, and this is not the first time issues like this will be coming up from Athletics Federation of Nigeria to the athletes, especially when it comes to global and international competition. Recently, 2 days or 3 days back, the athletes are preparing for the World Championship in Tokyo. Tobi Amusa video was viral left and right in the internet space, telling the world how the Athletics Federation of Nigeria delivered their delivered what they will use for this competition. It is very, very unfair for world champion, world record holder for this kind of treatment when it comes to kits and all they will use to represent over 200 million Nigerians. So after his drama telling the whole world how the AFN treated him, delivered his kits, another video was trending about how other countries are delivering their kits to the athletes. So the bottom line is Tobi Amusa was not happy on how the Athletics Federation of Nigeria delivered the kits they will use to participate at the World Athletics Championship in Tokyo.
Okay, let me come to Jidechi. Hi, Jidechi. Sports
Hello,
journalist.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much. So, it's Chidi Eze, right?
You are spot on.
Let me know. Let me know murder your name. Okay, so I mean, Hassan has just nicely put a quick summary, right, on this situation. Let me quickly just ask you, do you think Tobi Amusa was in her right to actually call out the the Athletic Federation of Nigeria?
Absolutely, I totally agree with Tobi Amusa. She was well within her rights. I think it's one thing. This Tobi Amusa situation versus the AFN is one thing we see with the Nigeria of today. If anything, Nigeria as a country on a larger scale is very much particular for. It's the fact that professionalism seems to be an issue. Think of any industry that you can come up with right now, whether sports, the entertainment space, politics, more than everything. Professionalism always seems to be a thing. Negligence of duty is just a big issue, and that's what we are seeing with this Tobi Amusa situation. Because just like Hassan did state earlier, we saw videos, viral videos from other countries that also send athletes to the athletics championship. And mind you, the athletics championship, it's like the World Cup of athletics. So it's just like sending the Super Eagles to the World Cup, and you get to see how they are treated not as nicely as every other nation that sends their athletes to the country. And that's what we saw with Tobi Amusa. And mind you again, Tobi Amusa is not just any athlete. She is a world record holder. Currently one of Nigeria's, what am I even saying currently one of? Nigeria's biggest athletes at the moment in terms of athletics. And this, for her to call out the federation, you should understand that it's because of the level she's got into that she can even say certain things. Many other leagues might not be able to speak up because they might get sidelined, and we've seen this in many sports, numerous occasions, and with sports federations all across the country. I think it's one of the issues we tend to have over and over and over again. It's not just about Tobi Amusa and the Athletics Federation of Nigeria. It's just a recurring issue in Nigerian sports that also is a recurring issue in Nigeria as a country. And many times when issues like this come up, I think you are talking about the story of the house in Marina that caught fire earlier today. When issues like this come up, I think the issue I tend to have is there really is nothing much that would happen from this, because it looks like we are so comfortable in mediocrity at this point that accountability is a challenge. Because even if you say you're calling out, I mean, what happens after that? It's just sad. So many of the times, yes, you have to call out so that people can understand what is really going on. Because as much as it seems, when we talk about Tobi Amusa, it all looks like glamour. But sometimes it's very necessary for people who are not so immersed in the industry, who are not so immersed in sports, to understand that it's not as rosy as it seems. These athletes are going through a lot. One of the Olympics in time past, we had athletes washing their kits, and these are things that should not be so. So it's not always as glamorous as one might see from the outside, and that's why it's necessary for those who can speak up to speak up.
Okay, thank you so much. I mean, you put it nicely. Because the truth is, I was just going to say that, like with everything, it's not actually unique to sports, right? Like with everything, we actually have just adopted mediocrity as a lifestyle in Nigeria. But let me just come to Mighty George, because I believe he's with us. He hosted the longest marathon for Radio Talk, right? 105 hours. Our Guinness World Record holder. You're a world record holder too. Let's say, you see, I think in Nigeria, they know they rate you now. That be the problem. If you're not Hilda Baci, they will not rate you in Nigeria. So tell me, right? You see, yeah, you see. So Tobi Amusan's calling out, what's it called, the Athletics Federation of Nigeria, and the things that she has alleged. Are there any symptoms of facts in them, or is just something that she's just talking because she can talk and she can brag, and they can't really do anything to her, literally?
It's been put rightly. First of all, good evening, everyone. Thanks for the acknowledgement. You know, if you acknowledge every day like this, people will get to know that there is a record holder somewhere in New York, you know. And shout out to Hilda Basi too. She's we're from the same state, so we can
You're
make a lot of
a
noise.
sister.
That's right. All right. So, I mean, it's been put very aptly. You cannot alienate the Nigerian system to, you know, all the sectors, to the sports sector, the health sector. We see all of that happening. But when by a stroke of magic or individual brilliance, Nigerian athletes go out there and do their thing, you know, you tend to forgive the administrators. Yes, it's relatively a new system. It's now a sports commission, transited from a ministry. They had to oversee elections, and it looks like it's the same thing. I'm not going to blame probably the center, which is, of course, the chairman of the National Sports Commission and the DG. There are federations that are elected to do their jobs. And if you had from 2022 to date to know that there's, you know, a World Athletics Championship going down this year, it should have given you time to plan, get sponsors. What happened to the one sponsor per athlete that we had? I remember that Tobi Amusa had a sponsor too that was helping oversee her training abroad. And that's very key for them, because if they were not even training abroad or residing abroad, what would have happened? We would have seen probably a show of shame. We probably would have seen that Tobi Amusa would not be able to even make a podium finish. But she did her best individually. Encouragement, well, we can't say that the AFN did not ensure that its athletes were there, but maybe they didn't just do enough. The contrast in the kids' representation was so wide. I mean, the Jamaicans had a box. They were given box of kits, and that's just for their kids. while we, the Nigerians, have just a small, transparent bag.
Did you see the American one?
I mean, let's not even go to the United States. So the disparity was so much, and it made people like Tobi Amusa, who is of course an international athlete, to wonder, what did they happen? I think she even joked, I beg any country they find athletes. She joked about that, but when you see what Favor Philly did and what the other athletes have done in the past, you know that that's not a joke. If you heard that from her, it means that, you know what, anything can really happen. But I think that she's triumphed in the colors of a green, white, and green. She was the last athlete to win, a medal at the World Championships in 2022. And now in 2025, she just missed that goal. But what if there was extra motivation? Like even the tiniest things like kicks, giving them some sort of treatment that will blow their head up. What if we just had that? We can't always keep on telling how to run, go and run.
Yeah.
Extra motivation. See, athletes, footballers, whether you like it or not, man, you need to treat them like kings because these are people who race and play, with crowds, thousands of Europeans cheer them. The way we even get to see them here, for instance, footballers, look at Victor Osimhen. There are Turkish people that would kill themselves just to touch him. And, that's the kind of life that these guys live. So they need to be treated better. And unfortunately, it was not a good representation when it came to how they were managed. But I'm glad I'm not hearing anything about, no camping allowances and all of that. That's good. But at the end of the day, we only came up with one medal. I think the NFL sit down and look at those little things that they didn't do.
Okay, let me come back to Hassan. Because when George was talking, and of course Jidechi was talking, something kept ringing in my head, right? How professional are the handlers of these events? Because what George said, you had a timeline, 2022. I mean, when I'm doing a production, for instance, we're shooting a content. When you come on my set, the green room, you would want to be a guest on my production, because the way the green room would be set up, you feel like a king, you feel welcomed, you feel like, oh, I have to keep doing this. And I know with movie sets, if you recall, movie sets used to be like that anyhow, until the likes of, I think, AY, Moabudu, Funke Aki, they started, intentionally creating what's it called, an experience, that's what I'm looking for their actors. And it started changing the game. So now actors will really are paying attention, because if you listen to old Nollywood, they'll tell you that they'll just sleep anywhere. There was no provision. Anytime, let's just do it and go. It has always been the standard. And this is not just unique to sports. But because sport is quite delicate, because the mental well-being and the physical well-being of the athlete is important for whether the athlete will be successful or not. How professional are the handlers of this, this organization? Okay, Hassan is not here. Okay, let me come to Jidechi. If you heard the question, please take on the question.
Yeah, I did get the question 100%. I mean, many times we debate the professionalism of our administrators in Nigeria. I would particularly say, if anything, we are in a good era in Nigerian sports, I would say. The National Sports Commission, which formerly would have been the Ministry of Sports, are having handlers that, for the very first time, are actual sports administrators. We've not had it this good quite in a while in Nigerian sports. And when you trickle down to the individual federations, many times you get very close to that. Those who are very much invested in the individual sports are handling those sports. But the Athletics Federation of Nigeria, I wouldn't want to say something so controversial, but personally, I have debated their level of professionalism for quite a few years now, because, I mean, when you get certain results, it's not something you want to put side by side with somebody who you would call a professional. And I do think that the way our athletes have been treated repeatedly under this particular administration that is in charge of athletics in Nigeria is a cause for concern, if you ask me. It's really a cause for concern, because how do you tell me you have the last World Championships? You've had the Olympic Games. I mean, we had situation with the Olympic Games with almost all the athletes we did send to the Olympic Games. The treatment have been poor repeatedly. And when you have situations like this, you begin to question if truly the people you did think we are professionals, or the people you did think are professionals, are indeed professionals in their of the sports that they are handling. Because one thing about being a sports administrator is that you do not just run the sport. You also get to interact with other sports administrators in that particular sport during global tournaments like this one, the Athletics World Championships. It's something you get to go out. There's that room for you to be enlightened, even if you do not know. There's that room for you to get enlightened and for you to see how things are being done. This is how we get to learn. I mean, one of the ways we get to learn is by seeing others or reading about what others have done, people that came before us have done. These are ways you learn. And when you learn, you can call yourself a professional. I would not excuse these people's room for education because they have been educated. The person in charge of athletics in Nigeria, he's been in the system for a while. I mean, the state he hails from used to be the hub of athletics in Nigeria for quite a while. So these are professionals. But when things like this go on every year, it's not the first time, it's not the second time. You begin to ask yourself, are these really professionals?
Okay, let's go on a very short break. We'll just go out and back because I want to come back to George. I want to ask, if truly these people are professionals, shouldn't there be sanctions for things like this? Because, I mean, it's becoming like a ringtone. Stay with us. We'll be right back. All right, thanks for staying with us. So if you just tuned in, we're discussing Tobi Amusa's statement, right? Is it a media sensationalism, or it is actually a wake-up call for us, to look into how we treat our athletes, right? Please, let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. You can also, leave us a message on our YouTube live links. Now, let me come back to you, George. I'll come back to you, Hassan, because I see you're back now. George, if this situation is the way it is now, right? Do we truly, are there supposed to be sanctions? First of all, who is the AFN president? Is it Okowa? And are there supposed to be, George, if you are talking, I cannot hear you because I think you're muted. Can you unmute yourself, right? If you're talking, I cannot hear you. Should there be sanctions for things like this? And if yes, what are the kind of sanctions we should be calling for? Because this is becoming too much.
Can you hear me now?
Hello, George? Yeah. Mighty George, can you hear me?
All right. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you loud and clear. Go ahead. All
right. So I just take up the mic. Yes, the name you called is the president. He recently returned as president of the AFN. And of course, he has been there for a while, and I agree with everything my colleague has said. These are people who should be professionals. I remember the incident at the Olympic Games. Now, in between the last World Championships, of course, he just reminded us there was the Olympic Games as well, where we also had administrative issues and players lashing out, especially those that were disqualified, and the talk of them failing dope tests. Because of that, we didn't have, we're not competing at full strength. And as a result, Nigeria came back with no medal at the Olympic Games. For the first time, it was a show of shame. And again, I would say that maybe it was just at a time when the likes of Shehu Diko and Bukola Lakpade were settling down. These are two seasoned administrators that have been highlighted. But if there were some internal queries, I suppose there were, but we didn't see the heads roll. All right? In more, in other clients where we see them take up football and sports as business a serious business. We hear that people have resigned, and someone has been sanctioned and suspended. We don't hear that. If it was done secretly, I'm not sure. Maybe Paul Sports would have gotten in touch with that or known that, but we didn't get any iota of that. And that is where, we look at the generality of how Nigeria also sanctions its erring leaders. It is this thing. We cannot divorce it. Maybe someone, at the end of the day, they'll put it on the athletes. I'm telling you. In the issue of Philly and all of that, they still put it on the athletes. Now Philly has gone to Turkey. But the chairman of the National Sports Commission is still insisting that, don't worry, she's going to run for Nigeria. Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed on that. So, like you rightly asked and rightly said, we don't see these sanctions. There might be internal queries, but what happens? Why is it that they repeat themselves? That means that people have not been adequately punished. I think that we should be getting to the level, and I hope that Malam Shehu Diko is watching this. He needs to show that he is in charge. He needs to show that his level of experience in sports administration needs to bear at this point. If there are loopholes, you take them out and put them with those who really fit. Unfortunately, the system of heading federations is political. All right? It's not by appointment. You have to go to the polls, you galvanize your delegates. You know how the delegate thing is in Nigerian politics. That's where we get it. That's where it all gets mixed up. I'm not questioning anybody's, level of professionalism, but I'm questioning their motive for always wanting to. It's the same man who's been there and, still wants to get back there ever since, the Solomon Ogba left as EFN boss. It's Okowa. He still wants to. What is your motive? Is it to harness the talents that we have? Yes, we're seeing lots of, has been mentioned as well. We come from Delta State where there are lots of athletes that have, come out from there and done Nigeria proud. Of course, you talk about the SA Brumets, you're talking about, a host of them. All right, but the motive for going back there and the motive for always wanting to be in charge, I think there's a question mark there.
Absolutely.
Do they know?
Yes, please. Okay, let me come to Hassan. Just to piggyback from what Mighty George said about the motive, right? When we go for these competitions, do we actually have a goal? Because if you ask me, if you went for a competition and came back with 0 medal, there's a problem. And it's not like these athletes have not proven to do well before that, those competitions. I'm just asking, do we actually target that we are there to win? From what you have seen over time with the federation, with the handlers of the athletes and all of that, do we actually have that goal? If the answer is yes, then what should be our success metrics when it comes to outings, when we go out?
Actually, no athlete will go to any competition, either local, international, or regional competition, without the motive of finishing on the podium, getting a medal, either the bronze, silver, or gold. No athlete will have that mindset. But the issue is this, when we are preparing for competition in Nigeria, we love to prepare with fire brigade approach. 2 weeks to competition, we start asking, who is ready, who is this, who will represent this? These are the issues that we need to tackle. A good country has started preparation for the next Olympic, but Nigeria, if they ask you, who will represent the country at the next Olympics, the question is no. Not that we don't have the talent, not that we don't have the athletes, not that we don't have the facilities, the funds to spend to actualize this goal. But the issue we are having is maladministration. Our administration take things as it comes, fire brigade approach. They just wake up with different policy. Today we do this, today we're doing that, without looking at the long-term agenda. Without looking at the short-term agenda. But this is Nigeria. Everything we all do is all about politics. What will happen? What will people say? What will my people say? I'll give a good instance of this. When we talk about football clubs in Nigeria, the chairman of all football clubs, especially the government-owned club. They don't have any KPI. Their KPI is we've won a medal, we've won the league, we've won the FA Cup, we've won this and we've won that. Fine, it is good for you to win this. It is fine for you to win a trophy. But football, it is beyond winning a trophy. It is a business, and same thing as all sport. Sport is a business. As a country like Nigeria that we have talent, whether we like it or not, every state has a talent in every sport. But the question is, do we actualize and maximize all this talent? The administration are not doing what they're supposed to all out there to get the medal. It is just unfortunate that all the blames and everything will fall back on the Olympics. People are blaming the athletes for not winning medal, but they've forgotten that what are the preparations they had going to the Olympics. These are the things we need to look out for before we can say, yes, with the talents we have in Nigeria, we should be able to get multiple medals at the Olympics.
Okay. Speaking of, what's it called? The fact that Nigeria is just a pool of talents when it comes to everything. I don't think it's even limited to sports. It's also even in fashion. Jidechi, let me come to you. I think it's Herasia. I don't know the name of the brand. Is it possible that we, maybe if a Nigerian brand had handled the production of these kits that even sparked all this conversation in the first place, do you think a lot of thought would have gone into, because I saw it was quite interesting, all the things that I saw. She was complaining about the fit. So many things just went wrong, from her analysis, right? I've never run a professional race before. I don't know but I know a good gear when I see it on the athlete. But she is the wearer, so she has a better position or a vantage point to be able to say what is right or what is wrong. Do you think if a Nigerian brand had handled, the production of those kits, we would have seen something a lot more different? Because again, I believe that probably a Nigerian brand would have, paid a lot of attention. They would have wanted to match up with the standard that they see globally. Do you believe that?
I honestly do not think it's a case of the indigenation of the brand. Harissa, they might be pretty new on the block. They might not be one of those very big brands, but at the end of the day, I think it's not a case of what you're putting on, right? It's a case of the support, and the support always comes in the littlest forms. Tobi Amusa's issue wouldn't have been a thing of, we are using a new brand. If the Harissa kits did come in boxes like other countries did get their kits, right? I think she wouldn't have had to put up a video to say, see how we are treated. We are getting new kit sponsors. We are getting new kit suppliers for the first time. I don't know these kit suppliers. If every kit that she was meant to use for this championships did get to her, like her colleagues from other countries, I don't think it would have been an issue. So at the end of the day, it's usually not a case of, my life is not perfect and I want it more perfect than it is. It's a case of, my life is a mess because I'm being treated in a way I'm not supposed to be treated. And I think that's what it is originally. The support is just abysmal. And at the end of the day, we do have local brands that are invested in some of these areas in terms of kit manufacturing across sports. But again, it changes nothing that a new kit was introduced or that an old kit we've used, maybe say Nike or Adidas for 10 years plus, we need some. It's absolutely not about that. It's about the treatment. This was in fact the first time I did see the range of sportswears that athletes wear at these global competitions. It was the first time, and to imagine, I did get introduced to it from the Nigerian perspective. Actually, was from the United States and the United Kingdom perspective. I did see a couple more of the athletes that went to the World Championship, and it's just sad. It's sad. It's just a bag at the end of the day. And this is Tobi Amusa we're talking about, not an up-and-coming athlete. This is Tobi Amusa.
So it wasn't really just about back Jidechi, because I mean I saw the kits from America, almost the thing complete. There was water bottle, there were just a lot of things, because I remember she was complaining about no tight and all of that. But I get you, it is supposed to be and you see, when you're bringing a brand like this, ideally the brand is supposed to do proper, you know, the way you would introduce the brand, there has to be proper photo shoots that are taken, so athletes know what to expect, you know. That's what I'm saying. It's just the anyhowness, right? It is the anyhowness that is the problem. That's all I see. But let me come to you, Mighty George. Way forward, right? Way forward. What do we learn from this? If the Nigerian Federation, the Athletics Federation is watching, or representatives, because I know the people you mentioned though, Shehu Diko, Olopade, Chief Ogba, I'm going to forward this link to them. They will watch it. You know, so I'm just saying, if they were watching, and there has to be like a thought through solution, what should the way forward look like, so that we don't even have this kind of national embarrassment coming up all the time? Is Mighty George there?
That any proper organization or okay.
Go ahead.
Again, right? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
All right. Yes. So I'm sure that any proper organization or establishment do know that there's always postmortem after an event. Any federation knows there should be postmortem. In that postmortem, you can, say that it is. I wish that they would have the athletes also invited to this postmortem. The athletes would actually tell them, what their problems are, because the problems are always what, affect the athlete. And so when they're analyzing and sitting in the boardroom and saying, what did we do? What did we do wrong? I was wondering also, what did they discuss when we came back with no medal after about how much? Probably about $1 billion. Well, fortunately for Shehu Diko and Alopade, they were not the ones in charge then. The minister who was in charge was later taken to a lower ministry in court, Senator John Owen Eno, who maybe people said largely because of that underperformance at the Olympics, that's why he was changed. And we brought proper sports people. So the athletes would tell you, and I'm not an athlete, but I know, what do they complain about? You don't enter their details on time, poor welfare, like Tobi Amusa. It takes people like Tobi Amusa to talk about it. I remember when she was also going through her own crisis of, where they said she had a ban for a failed dope test. At that point, we're looking at the AFN. Are they going to throw her under the bus? Are they going to come out to support her? And that's important to support. You need to be with these athletes from the time you leave this World Championship and continue your correspondence with them up until the next competition. You need to stop fire brigade approach, because if it wasn't fire brigade approach, we would have had, I think the phrase you were looking for was a kit unveiling, which is very common.
Yes, the kit unveiling. Thank you.
You also have the brands that are going to support and all. I don't know if they probably just berated the World Championships and everyone's looking at the big one, Olympic Games, but the World Championships it's very, very massive. And it's the athletes' own World Cup. So I don't think that, the Sports Commission, maybe tried as they may, they might have taken it seriously, but they didn't take it as serious enough. So prepare on time, so that you have to tick all these boxes, have constant touch with these players, and so that they do not complain of neglect. Make your marketing arm or ensure that sports is released, money is released on time. That's why we have a sports commission now. We hear the commissioner, is supposed to get a takeoff grant, or if you have got that already. I saw the material and the blueprint for sports as prepared by Balam Shehu Diko and his team, called the RINS initiative. How far so far? Does it not include, athletes' welfare? I'm sure it does. So, almost a year into his tenure, I think that these things need to start being implemented. I just pray that there's no much over focus on football, which is usually the case. You know, the sports ministers usually get trapped in football issues and all of that, and the money, football money that is coming, that they get distracted of what's going on
other
in other
parts
places.
of the sports.
But I see this team. I see them. They're all around. You know, we had the on the 20 World Championships in Abeokuta. I see this team moving around and doing a lot of stuff. So even though they both also are football people, I can also attest to the fact that the likes of Bukola Olapade has been involved in athletics, being the coordinator of the Lagos Marathon for many years. So these guys know what to do. Let them have a postmortem after this. Speak with the athletes. You know, tell them that you are their friends and you're not their enemies. Get monies released to them on time. If possible, they go to competitions outside. I'm sure that some of these officials were in these championships and saw what the US and Jamaica and other countries, you know, did for their athletes. Come back, implement it. Use most of the money that is budgeted for sports for the upkeep of athletes instead of some other thing. For instance, they might not like to hear this, but anytime there's a sports event, you see the jamboree that happens. You see people who are not even supposed to be in these places travel with the delegation, the government delegation, and all of that. If you can raise that money, all right, plow it back into the welfare of these athletes.
Of the athletes. Okay, unfortunately, because we ran out of time, if I had one thing to say from Jidechi and Hassan, what would your final, just in 1 minute, please? Let me go with you, Hassan, first, then I'll come to Jidechi.
Yeah, it is sports that keep Nigerians unite. The Sports Commission should always ensure that Nigerians are smiling when it comes to sports.
Thank you. So, Jidechi, your final thoughts, please.
I think it would always be the same thing I've always thought for a while. Let's treat sports like a business. And when we treat sports like a business, I'm sure many of the things that are being done currently in the sports industry would be done it will be done quite differently. So if sports is being treated like a business, I'm sure many of these issues would definitely not be a conversation.
All right. I mean, gentlemen, thank you so much. You've made my day fun. You know, it's interesting to have great people talk about sports. So it makes me learn as I'm also having the conversation. But thank you so much for your time this evening. So Tobi Amusan's statement sits at the crossroad of media media sensation and a necessary wake-up call. So while it is undeniable that media often amplifies controversies for attention, it is also equally important to acknowledge the underlying truth athletes like Amusan brings to light, right? So her words challenge us to look beyond headlines and consider the systemic pressure, the injustice and expectations that elite athletes face. Whether you call it sensation or not, her message compels us to reflect on the broader dynamics in sports and, of course, athlete welfare, like our guests have said, you know, treating sport as a business, the public perception. So ultimately, the real values lie not in debating her tone, but in addressing some of the things that she has put forward, right? And of course, like George says, go back to the drawing board, do some postmortem, and see where we went wrong and see how to improve. It's as simple as ABC. All right, thank you so much for watching. Again, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's at Official Upgrade TV. You can like, share, invite families and friends to join and follow the conversation. If you missed the quote from the our chairman, right? Sports Commission. The kids are not inferior. I thought the AFN should have been praised for quickly getting the transaction with Hiresa. And this was from the chairman of Sports Commission, Shehu Diko. All right. Chioma is going to see you guys tomorrow. Yes. Enjoy the rest of your evening.